The Man from the Sea. The boat, the boat, where is it? I must find the boat. I'm cold, so cold. Oh, Lida, where are you? How can I find you? I must find you. So cold, so cold. I must get back on the boat. Oh, Lida, Lida, Lida. Mummy, look at that man. What man? That man there, by the sea. Look, his clothes are all wet. Well, perhaps he went into the sea for a swim. But he is wearing a shirt and trousers and shoes, Mum. Nobody swims in clothes like that. Linda Jones and her daughter Anne were on a beach by the sea in the south of England. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. It was a sunny day, but cold, not weather for swimming. Linda Jones looked at the man. Her daughter was right. The man's clothes were not clothes for swimming in. They weren't even summer clothes. They were work clothes. Black trousers, a white shirt, and black shoes. He does look strange, she said. But people sometimes do strange things, Anne. But, Mummy, perhaps he is ill. He is trying to walk. Look. There is something wrong with him. The little girl was right. The man stood up and then began to walk by the sea. But he didn't walk very well. First he walked up the beach, then down again to the sea. He fell down and got up again. Then he walked into the sea and fell down again. This time he didn't get up. He stayed there, lying in the sea. You're right, Anne, Linda said. There's something wrong with that man. You stay here. I'm going to look at him. She walked down the beach to the sea. The man didn't get up. He stayed lying in the water. Linda stood by the sea and looked at him. He was a tall young man, about 25 years old, with long dark hair. His clothes were wet, and he looked cold. His face was very white, but there was a dark red mark over his left eye. Hello, are you all right? Linda asked. The man looked at her, but didn't say anything. Linda tried again. You look cold, she said. Do you need help? The man didn't speak. He tried to get up, but he fell down again, in the water. Oh dear, she said. You do need help, don't you? She took off her shoes and walked into the sea. She took the man's arm. Come on, she said. Try to stand up. She tried to help him up with one hand, and then two. But it was not easy. He was bigger than her, and she nearly fell into the sea beside him. But then she got him to his feet and helped him walk out of the sea. On the beach, he sat down again. Linda sat down next to him. "Are you hurt?" she asked. "Are you not feeling well?" The man looked at her with his strange blue eyes, but he didn't say anything. "What's your name?" Linda said. The man didn't answer. He turned his face away and looked at the sea. Linda looked at the mark over his eye. "Oh dear," she said. "I think you need to go to hospital." She took out her phone and called for an ambulance. 20 minutes later, an ambulance arrived, and 2 ambulance men ran down the beach to the man. They looked into his eyes, felt his hands, and asked questions. "What's your name, sir?" they said. No answer. "How did you hurt your head?" they asked. "Can you move your legs?" No answer. One of the ambulance men turned to Lyndon Jones. "Do you know this man?" he asked. "No," said Linda. "He was like this when I found him." Suddenly the man stood up and tried to walk away, back into the sea. But he couldn't walk well. He fell down and lay on the beach. The sea came over his legs. All his clothes were wet, and he was very cold. "Come on, sir," the ambulance man said. "You're not well. You need help. We're taking you to the hospital." The 2 ambulance men helped him up and carried him into the ambulance. At the hospital, 2 nurses took off the man's wet clothes and put him in a warm bed. A young doctor came to look at him. He saw the mark on the man's face and his cold white hands. "What happened to you?" the doctor asked. "How did you hurt your head?" The man closed his eyes and did not answer. "Who is he?" the doctor asked the nurses. "We don't know. He didn't speak to the ambulance man," a nurse said. "I asked his name, but he didn't say anything. I think he's in shock." "Let's have another look at his head." The doctor moved his fingers carefully over the man's head. "Ah," he said, "there is another injury here, under the hair, see? Something hit him very hard here." The doctor felt the man's cold hands and feet. "How long was he in the sea, do you know?" "We don't know, doctor. We don't know anything about him, because he is not speaking." "Well, that can wait. First, we must get him warm. He's too cold. Give him lots of warm drinks and check him every hour. Let him sleep, but keep him warm all the time. Tomorrow morning He must have a scan for that head injury. Chapter 2. The Man with No Name. Where am I? All these lights. So many people. White coats. Talking. I don't want to hear them. I don't understand their words. I must find Lida. I must help her. How can I find her? I cannot live without her. My Lida, my songbird. The hospital day starts very early. At 7 o'clock, the nurses took the man downstairs for his scan. By 9 o'clock, he was back in bed on ward, and a different doctor came to see him. "Well, good news, young man," the doctor said. "Your head injury is not very bad. You're going to be fine. How are you feeling now?" The man did not answer. He sat up in bed and looked at the doctor and then at the nurse. Then he turned his face away and stared out of the window. Said the doctor. He took out a pen and slowly moved it from side to side in front of the man's face. The man's eyes did not move. "Shock," said the doctor. "Shock can do this to the brain sometimes, and then it can forget how to speak." He turned to the nurse. "Is he saying anything to you?" "No, not a word," the nurse said. "Is he eating and drinking all right?" "Yes, no problems there," said the nurse. "Well, call me when the police arrive. Somebody's coming at midday to ask questions." "Why?" said the nurse. "The poor man is ill." "He is a man with no name, no papers, nothing. Where did he come from? The police want to know." When the policeman arrived, the nurse took him to her patient. "Please be gentle," she said. "He has a head injury, and we think he's still in shock after his accident." "Good afternoon, sir," the policeman said to the man in the bed. "I need to ask you some questions, please. What's your name, and where are you from?" The policeman held his pen, ready to write down the answers. But there were no answers. He tried again. "Why were you on the beach yesterday?" "Why were your clothes wet?" "Did you fall off a boat?" No answer. The man closed his eyes and turned his face to the wall. "How did you hurt your head?" "Did somebody hit you?" No answer. The policeman spoke more loudly. "Come on now, what's your name?" The nurse and the doctor then arrived. "What are you doing?" said the nurse. "There is no need to shout. He can hear very well. But he is not answering my questions," the policeman said. "Who he is, Where does he come from? We don't know, said the doctor. Can't the questions wait for a day or two? Let him rest now. They moved away from the patient's bed. I need a name, the policeman said. I can put a name through the policeman computer. Where does he come from? Is he an illegal immigrant? Did he fall off a boat full of illegal immigrants? We need to know these things. Without a name, I can't do anything. Is he even English? Was there nothing in the pockets of his clothes? Where are his clothes? Said the doctor. I can find them, I think, the nurse said. She went away and came back a few minutes later with the man's clothes. They were white with salt from the sea water. There was nothing in the pockets, no papers, nothing with a name on. What about the label in the clothes? The policeman said. They can sometimes tell you something. The nurse found a label in the backs of the shirt. Look, she said. That's not English, the doctor said. Can you read it, nurse? No, the nurse said. It looks like some Eastern European language. Russian, perhaps? Maybe, the policeman said. So perhaps your patient isn't English. He can't answer the questions because he doesn't understand them. Said the doctor. I think he is not answering because he can't speak in any language. Something happened to him. We don't know what, but it was bad. I can bring a police interpreter tomorrow, said the policeman. He can try a few languages on him. And now I must go and ask a lot of questions about boats and ships near here yesterday. Perhaps he fell off a boat and somebody is looking for him. The policeman left, but there was no rest yet for the man from the sea. It was a busy hospital, with accidents coming in all the time. We can't keep him in this warm tonight, the doctor said. We need the bed. Take him over to the psychiatric unit. They can have him a bed for a few nights. Perhaps they can help him with speaking. Ask for Nurse Avril O'Brien. She is very good with patients like this. Chapter 3. The Piano. My head feels better today. My eyes still hurt, but I can see better. These people are kind, but I cannot talk to them. What can I say? What can I tell them? I do not want to live without Lida, and Lida is lost to me forever. Nothing matters now, nothing. The psychiatric unit was a new part of the hospital. It had nice rooms for the patients, with pictures on the walls. There was a patient sitting room with books, some comfortable chairs, and an old piano. Outside, there was a small garden with flowers. Patients here had mental problems of different kinds. Many of them were older people. Some of them did not know the day of the week or their own names. Avril O'Brien was very good with these patients. She was kind and friendly. She liked to sit with her patients or walk with them in the little garden. She talked to them all the time. Sometimes they answered, and sometimes they didn't. But that didn't matter to Avril. She just went and talking in her warm Irish voice. She was very interested in the new patient, the man from the sea, the man with no name. "How can I help him best?" she asked Dr. Sansom. Dr. Sansom was the doctor in the psychiatric unit. He was very good with helping with mental health problems. Avril was his best nurse. "Talk," he said. "Just talk to him, Avril. He is not going to answer you, but we want him to listen." So Avril talked to him in her warm Irish voice. She talked about her family, about the weather, about books and films. The man from the sea said nothing, and did not answer any of her questions, but he began to listen and to watch Avril's face when she talked. In the morning, the policeman came back. With him was a tall young woman with black hair and a big smile. "Hi, I'm Katya," she said to Avril. Avril looked at her in surprise. "Do you work for the police?" she asked. "You don't look like police." Katya laughed. "No," she said. "I'm an interpreter of Eastern European languages. I work for myself." "Our usual man is on holiday," said the policeman. "He is always on holiday when we need him. Katya helps us when that happens." Avril took them into her patient's room. He lay on his bed and watched them. But when Katya began to speak, he closed his eyes and turned his face to the wall. Katya spoke for 3 or 4 minutes in different languages, but the man did not move or open his eyes. Katya stopped and looked at the policeman. "I'm sorry, Ben," she said. "I tried Polish, Ukrainian, Russian, and Serbian. He just doesn't want to talk." "But did he understand any of those languages?" "I don't know. How can you tell?" said Katya. "He is just lying on the bed with his eyes closed." "What about that shirt label?" said the policeman. He turned to Avril. "Have you got his shirt?" Avril found the shirt and showed it to Katya. "Yes, this is a Russian name on the label," she said. "So he is Russian then," the policeman said happily. "Maybe," said Katya, "but you can find these shirts in Poland, in Latvia, in London even. This label is a famous shirt maker in St. Petersburg." "Well, that's no help," said the policeman. Oh dear, this is getting very difficult. He must tell us his name. I'm going to talk to him in English again. No, you're not, said Avril. This is my patient, and he is not a well man. He needs to rest, to be quiet. You must leave now. She opened the door, and they all left the room. Avril closed the door quietly behind her. Outside of the room, the policeman turned to Avril. So, what do we do now, nurse? He asked. Wait, said Avril. Okay. But call me when he starts talking, right? Of course, said Avril. She smiled at Katya, and Katya gave her big smile back.